Hello! Thank you for being in a new video. Finally the day has come and we have with us the Huawei Pure 70 Ultra. Let's do an unboxing, let's get started. Before we go any further, its launch price in Mexico has been 30,999 pesos. On screen you see the reference price in dollars, just to give you an idea, because remember that the prices here are not the same as over there. However, you have a discount applied at this time. So its price is 24,799 pesos right now. But you know that Huawei can change its promotions. So just take it as a reference point. We're in front of Huawei's top-of-the-line device, so join me in taking it out of its box. Before that, I'd love for you to see how the box has this pattern to give it a much more premium feel, unlike other manufacturers who send you the smallest box they can. It's funny because usually the box for mobile devices is vertical, and in this case it's a square box. I don't know what's inside here. Immediately we come across the cell phone. Let's take a look at this very nice design that it incorporates. As you can see, it's got a pattern on this back here. Honestly, I thought it was going to be a little bit more raised. So it's not so easily distinguishable to the touch. In fact, interestingly enough, its case has a much sharper relief. But it's a very nice looking device. This shade in green color is also nice. The frame, as you notice, is in gold color. The traditional button with a highlight color in red. And the screen with the 4 curves also add an attractive touch to the design. But let's get the device powered up while we see what else comes in the box. And look no more, here's the surprise that was waiting for us. A case that comes with this new symbol that Huawei is using. Although in this case a little more marked as the letter P. I had already told you in other unboxings I always like it when a brand sends a case with a nice design. That they don't just send the ugly transparent case, but also with the case on the device can still look nice. Definitely this one would encourage me to use it with a case, because it still has a very nice design, although it obviously gets a little bit thicker, but it will also protect the camera module a little bit more so it doesn't stick out too much. So, I like that we're going to see these kinds of features. Additionally, we're going to find here the documentation and the key to remove the tray. And finally, we have the 100-watt charger. In this case, it's a European charger, but you know this is because it's only a review unit. But if you purchase the device officially, it should come with the adapter corresponding to your region. We see that it comes with USB-A and USB-C in the same adapter, because you're going to be able to use it to charge your computer as well. So if you have different style cables, you can connect them. Although it's not meant to connect the two at the same time, but you could very well use cables with different connectors. In this case, the included cable comes from USB-C to USB-C to give a lot more convenience. And it's something that was required at Huawei, but they hadn't done it until this generation. So that's what we see here. Let me put this back away and we'll focus on the cell phone. Finally, I've got the device set up, so walk me through the specs. It's 8.4 millimeters thick and weighs 226 grams. Like many high-end devices, it won't be characterized as being too light. In fact, the camera module sticks out significantly. And if you notice, the main camera gets to stick out a bit more when you open the camera app due to the retractable design it has. The display is 6.8 inches on its diagonal and offers us LTPO OLED technology from 1 to 120 Hz with a resolution of 2844 by 1260 pixels. It is a highly detailed display. It is going to offer us, without a doubt, very good quality. The resolution, in fact, will adapt intelligently so as not to drain the battery so much, as will the refresh rate. In addition, it has the second generation of Kunlun glass. It's a very tough glass. It also has stereo sound with a data voice at the bottom and another in the earpiece area for calls. The front camera is 13 megapixels with f2.4 aperture, autofocus, and is an ultra-wide lens. So like many high-end Huawei devices, it looks like it's not going to offer us such a high light capture due to the aperture. But as a benefit, we have a very wide lens. In fact, notice how it offers us different levels of wide, because it really is a camera that for group shots will be very appealing. And in my capture before taking the picture, there are some areas that still look a little bit burnt, but after taking the picture, it comes out quite well. Remember, as I always tell you, the screen has HDR technology. So this area where the sun was hitting directly gives us a more intense illumination on the screen to give it much more realism. This picture looks good quality, much more detailed than other cameras that claim to be higher resolution. So don't let 13 megapixels sound too little, because this front camera will really give us an excellent level of detail with a good balance of lights and shadows. At least that is the first impression. On the back we have a tremendous camera module. First we'll find the 40 megapixel ultra-wide camera with f2.2 aperture and autofocus. So it can also function as a macro camera. Then we'll find the ultra-wide retractable camera. That's what Huawei has decided to name it. It is 50 megapixels and has a 1-inch CMOS sensor, optical stabilization and stabilization inside the sensor, and variable aperture from f1.6 to f4.0. Aperture is a parameter that few smartphones today can vary. And in this case, I think you do get to notice this change I'm making. Also, this camera is going to protrude slightly when you open the camera so that the light can better enter the 1-inch sensor. So in order not to make a huge camera module too thick, Huawei implemented this retractable camera system. And finally, we have the telephoto camera with 50 megapixels, f2.1 aperture, optical stabilization, and it also has macro capabilities. So it's an exaggeratedly attractive camera. The approximate optical sum is 3.5x. But as you notice, both the ultra-wide camera and the telephoto camera have macro capabilities, and all three cameras have high-resolution sensors. So, as usual, let's review some examples. This is the ultra-wide camera and it looks good quality. It also captures HDR photos, so they display in excellent quality on the device. Here we have the main camera. Subsequently, we're zooming in. Now we're looking at a 2x zoom photograph, where it applies a crop on the sensor. So it still has optical quality despite being digital zoom. You can see the level of detail very well. Next we have the 3.5x zoom photograph. That is, you're already using the telephoto camera with optical zoom and you see an excellent level of detail, obviously. The result is super good. Now we are looking at the 10x zoom photography with hybrid zoom, taking advantage of the sensor having high resolution. And I think the result is good. Maybe the more illuminated areas have a little more glare than I would like, but we will do a more detailed test later. Here we have the result with the 30x zoom, which again we are talking about digital zoom, but still I think the result is very good in terms of textures and details. Although again, the most illuminated areas generate a glow around that does not convince me much. And the maximum is 100x. And as you realize, I think the result is fine. Obviously at that level we are already talking about something a bit exaggerated, but the result could still convince many people. This is another photograph with 100x zoom. And here I was with 30x. And we're zooming out a little bit at a time so you can see the distance, so I think it has good zoom capabilities. I'm still not sure it's the best in its zoom class, but we'll do a later comparison against other devices. But note that its portrait photography capabilities are also very good. It lets you shoot with 1x, 2x, and 3.5x, and the results are actually super nice. Portrait is one of the strongest points of this device. Notice how it does very specific foreground edge detection. I loved it. We'll be doing more testing of these photos later. And now here we are looking at the macro capabilities that this device has. This is with the ultra-wide camera. And we definitely have an excellent level of detail. You can get pretty close to objects. And this photograph is with the telephoto camera with the macro capabilities. And notice that again we have an excellent level of detail. In fact, I think we even have more detail with the telephoto camera than with the ultra-wide camera. But in both cases we find good macro shots. The difference I see is that with the telephoto camera you might get a little bit less even focus, so some areas of the picture may be more out of focus than others, whereas with the ultra-wide camera the focus is much more even. So it's up to you as a user what you want, but they are very capable cameras. But one of the innovative features of this device is that it is able to take pictures of moving objects with high quality. Notice how the result of this moving hand was quite good after the processing it does. So it has very good capabilities for taking the moving pictures. Obviously, it will be able to record video in 4K with all the cameras, including the front camera as well. In fact, it's 4K at 60 frames per second. The battery is 5,200 milliamperes with 100-watt charging stand included in the box. So it's a bigger battery than what on average we see in other devices. And in conjunction with excellent system optimization, I think this device is going to be one of the best on battery. It supports wireless charging up to 80 watts. In addition, it also has reversible wireless charging. And I forgot to tell you that it has IP68 as a water resistance level. So if you happen to drop it in the water, there is no danger, even with the retractable camera system, which is remarkable. It comes with 16 gigabytes of RAM and 512 gigabytes of storage, although I have the 1 terabyte version. And another very important point is that it comes with MUI 14.2. So you could very well install the Google apps and they're going to work natively. So if you want to learn how to install them, I have a specific video where I show you this whole process, which is really quite simple. Not absolutely all Google applications work yet, but believe me, most of them do. So I leave the link in the description. What I have noticed is that some games still show some errors. So for those who are fond of games, maybe you should first check if your favorite game works fine on this device, because there are others that indeed do not have any kind of problem. And there are also others in which if you need to log in with Google, if you follow the process that I tell you in the video, I leave you in the description, you will not have any problem. Although there is very little space to scroll when selecting your account, but you can do it anyway. And you can retrieve the progress you have saved in your Google account. And likewise, if you have some purchases on Google Play, they may still have some complications, although you can get to install them through Aurora, but not all will get to work 100%. But compared to what we had before, the limitations are now much less. In fact, you could even have Android Auto. And finally, the processor is the Kirin 9010. So let's put this processor to the test to see more or less what it could give us. We can already anticipate that it's not an ultra-powerful processor because Huawei still has some limitations with US restrictions, but it's still a pretty decent processor that could give us a good performance to the vast majority of users. If you are one of the most demanding, I think it still won't be capable, but let's wait for the result. And that's it. We have 1,339 points in single core and 4,117 points in multi-core. The truth is that it is not bad at all. Although I insist it is not the most powerful of today, but that only the most demanding could notice it. Really, on a day-to-day basis, I think you're going to have a thoroughly good experience. Just for reference, it's a performance, let's say, similar to the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1. So, it's not that far off the cutting edge. For now, we've come to the end of this video. If you liked it, you know you can point it out, and we'll see you next time.